Far away in a kingdom called Angel Land, the evil goddess Medusa has stolen the 3 sacred treasures and imprisoned the goddess of light, Palutena. As Kid Icarus, your mission is to find the treasures, destroy Medusa, and rescue Palutena from the depths of the palace in the sky. To find the treasures, you'll travel through ruins, collecting weapons and storing power for use in combat against creatures of Medusa's army. Use your bow and arrow to ward off gatekeepers of the underworld, overworld, and Skyworld as you strive towards your battle against Medusa. Will you survive to restore Palutena's light and return it to Angel Land? Only you know. In this, Kid Icarus, from our friends at Nintendo, released in 1987. And the box gets it wrong and calls him Kid Icarus. That's not his name. His name is Pit. But we'll talk about that a little later on. The game originally released in Japan as Light Mythology, Palutena's Mirror, or Myth of Light, the Mirror of Palutena. Action platform game, the first entry in the Kid Icarus series, published in Japan in 1986 and North America and Europe in 87. It was later re-released for the Game Boy Advance in 2004, for the Virtual Console in 2007, which I happen to own a copy of. A sequel was released for the Game Boy in 91, and the third entry into the series was published for the 3DS in 2012. The plot of Kid Icarus revolves around the protagonist Pit, who has to quest for 3 sacred treasures, which he must equip to rescue the Grecian fantasy world of Angel Land and its ruler, the goddess Palutena. The player controls Pit through platform areas while fighting monsters and collecting items. Their objective is to reach the end of the level and find and defeat the boss monsters that guard the 3 treasures. The game was developed by Nintendo R&D 1. It was designed by Toru Osawa and Yoshio Sakamoto, directed by Satoru Okada, and produced by Gunpei Yokoi. Despite its mixed critical reception, Kid Icarus is a cult classic and has shipped 1.7 million copies as of late 2003. Reviewers praise the game for its music and mixture of gameplay elements from different genres, but criticize its graphics and a high difficulty level. It was included in several lists of the best games compiled by IGN and Nintendo Power, and after the release of the Game Boy sequel, Kid Icarus of Myth and Monsters, the game series lay dormant for 20 years. It was eventually revived with a 3D shooter for the 3DS titled Kid Icarus Uprising, after Pit's inclusion as a playable character in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. So, an action platforming game with role-playing elements. We control Pit through 2D levels, which are generally vertical or horizontal scrolling, never a combination of the two. We carry a bow and arrow. We have an unlimited supply of arrows, and we can upgrade those with 3 collectible power items. The guard crystals shield Pit from enemies, the flaming arrow hit multiple targets, and the holy bow increases the range of your arrows. These upgrades will only work if Pit's health is high enough. Kind of. They will all work once you get to that level, but after a certain point they do, you've got to get your health up to a certain level for them to activate. The game keeps track of your score and increases Pit's health bar at the end of a level if enough points were collected, kind of like experience points. Throughout many stages, the player may enter doors to access 7 different types of chambers. Stores and black markets offer items in exchange for hearts. Hearts are currency in this game, which are left behind by defeated monsters. Treasure chambers contain items. Enemy nests give the player an opportunity to earn extra hearts and experience points, and hot springs, which restore Pit's health. In the God's Chamber, the strength of Pit's bow and arrow may be increased depending on several factors, such as the number of enemies defeated and the amount of damage taken in battle. In the Training Chamber, Pit will be awarded with one of the 3 power items if he passes a test of endurance. There's also a gambling kind of game, which introduces the God of Greed, if I remember right, in which you will shoot different unmarked bags to discover what's inside. This is one of the only ways, in fact, it is the only way to get one of the items in the game, the credit card, which can be used in the black market. The game world is divided into 3 stages: the Underworld, the Surface World, and the Sky World. Each stage encompasses 3 unidirectional area levels and a fortress. The areas of the Underworld and Sky World have Pit climb to the top, while those of the surface are side-scrolling. The fortresses at the end are labyrinths with non-scrolling rooms in which the player must find and defeat a gatekeeper boss. Within a fortress, Pit may buy a check sheet, pencil, and torch to guide him through the labyrinth. A single-use item, the hammer, which you can pick up in the overworld stages, can destroy stone statues, which free a flying soldier called a centurion, which will aid the player in boss battles. For each of the bosses you destroy, Pit receives one of the 3 sacred treasures that are needed to access the 4th and final stage, the Sky Temple. The last portion abandons the platforming elements of the previous games and resembles a side-scrolling shooter. One other feature about the game, which was kind of a Nintendo R&D staple, is that the game has multiple endings to play depending on your performance. Palutena either presents Pits with headgear, transforms him into a full-grown angel, gives him a kiss, and the worst possible ending, I think, has Pit just cleaning up after the place. Kid Icarus shipped 1.76 million copies by late 2003. Game Informer ranked it the 83rd best game ever made. They claim that despite its high level of difficulty and frustration, it was fun enough to be worth playing. The game has met with mixed reviews from critics over the years. In October '92, a staff writer of the UK publication Nintendo Magazine System said that Kid Icarus was pretty good fun, but did not compare too well with the other platform games, owing it in part to its rather dated graphics. Which, I've heard a lot of people complain about the graphics of this game, but this was one of the first Nintendo games. This was I don't know if it was ever a black box, but it was just after that. It came in a gray box, but with a black box design to it. It was one of the first games I had as a kid. I loved it. I thought it was a ton of fun. It was really, really hard, but it was a lot of fun to play, and it's still a lot of fun to play today. Just a fantastic all-around game. I mean, a little bit of everything, not super, super great at any one thing, but just overall, a joy to play. Frustrations and all. Absolutely fantastic game.